Without going into too many details, today was pretty rough for me. I've kind of been non-stop crying on and off. This has actually kind of been my life for the past couple of days, but it got me to thinking about this incident that happened several years ago. It's somewhat Disneyland related, I'll explain. I had rented Grave of the Fireflies, and for those of you who don't know, it's a Japanese animation about these two kids during World War II who it's without really going into too much spoilers, it's just really just horrible as you can imagine. And by the time the credits were rolling, I was in tears. I was sobbing hard. And when that happened, my family came home from whatever they were doing. They found out I was crying because of a cartoon, and the teasing just would not stop. They could not comprehend how drawn lines and made up faces could do that to me. But the thing is, live action movies and live action TV has never gotten that kind of reaction out of me. And it's mostly animation that I've only cried at movies. I only cry at movies if they are animation. There are many animated movies that have made me tear up, and most of them have been Disney related. The one that stands out in my mind the most is Princess and the Frog, and I think I explained this in another review when Ray was killed, and I kept thinking, well, of course they're not going to kill him off. He's a comedic character. Okay, come on, let's have it do Ex Machina. Let's have some Disney magic. But when they showed his star next to Event, sorry, I can't even say her name, but you know what I'm talking about. When they show his star, oh, did the tears roll? My God, I could not contain myself. And I suppose I'm wondering, when did crying become so shameful? When did it become a sign of weakness? Whenever someone cries lately, it seems like that makes them a bad person, and I don't understand this because crying is a normal human reaction. It happens for a reason. It's I don't want to say it's like the same as burping or like breathing, but like it's a necessary and built-in part of the human body. There's nothing to be ashamed with what happens naturally. And that ties in with animated movies. My sisters have tried to argue, why can you feel these things? They're not real. These aren't real people. These aren't real stories. They're made up people. They're just lines. How can you cry over drawn lines? They apparently do not see the same movies I do. But the greatest movies can get that reaction out of you. But to me, the reason is, when sadness happens in an animated film, there's a huge negativity, a huge finality to it. In a live action movie, if a character dies, it's, to me, very easy to dismiss that because I know the actor's face. And, well, I've seen them last night on Jane Leno, I know they're okay. So it doesn't really carry that big of an impact for me. But in animation, you have these new, original, creative characters. You're only going to see them this one time. So when they're dead, they're gone. You're not going to see them again. Even if you know the voice, the face is different, and that's it. You're gone. They're gone. And the best kind of movies will make that attachment form and make that devastation all too clear. This kind of phenomenon has happened ever since the days of Snow White. There were reports that people were in tears over Snow White's funeral. And this was decades ago. This was just blossoming out of the black and white era of animation. And people were crying over the first full-length animated movie. So why should we be ashamed about that today when people can make even longer movies? People can make more complex characters when it's more easy to get attached to them. There should be no shame in forming a relationship with a fictional character, because that's what good storytelling does. If you can't find yourself attached to the story, then it's not a good story. Why would we read stories if we weren't going to form attachments? That's why I don't feel ashamed when I go see the Disney movies and Pixar movies and my eyes water up. I've cried at Brave, I cried at Tangled, I cried at Princess and the Frog. There are probably no Disney movies I've never cried at. Even when I went to see The Lion King in 3D with my mom and dad, and I know the story by heart, I know the lines by heart. The entire theater was singing along to the song, and laughing at the right jokes, even before they were told. But when Mufasa dies and Simba just so desperately wants him to wake up, I lost it. I knew what was coming, and I lost it hard. And because I was an adult, and because I could now connect with his adult form more clearly, I found myself crying again when he yells to the heavens saying, "You'd always be there for me, but you're not." And again, lost it. Tears everywhere. And out of the corner of my eye, I could see my mother, just barely hanging on, a hand over her mouth, trying to suppress herself. There's such power in animation. Not just in creativity, but in storytelling. With animation, you can present stories in whole new ways and bring out emotions. And that's what's so beautiful about it. And there's really no shame in crying over a cartoon. The shame is when you insult other people for it. Just because you can't connect to an art form doesn't mean it's impossible for others. I have made fun of my sisters for enjoying their reality TV, but if they formed a connection to these people who, frankly, are so scripted I consider them characters, then maybe I need to respect their choices too. Maybe I need to respect those connections, because fictional connections are some of the most powerful connections we can ever have. Because the people around us will die. They may forget us, but we don't forget them. And my dog is barking, so I guess I should wrap this up. Alright. I'll see you guys next time. And I'll try to not use as many tissues.